Peak AMD gaming is finally here. Peak Apple gaming also showing up, and what's showing up is some fake processors. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news that I could find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. And we went over this on Friday. I had a weird haircut with no eyebrows because of our Cannonball for the Cure charity stream, where we raised $156,000 to cure my son's rare disease. And I shaved off the weird haircut, which is why you get the Balderioni right now. So let's dive right on into the Specarionis of the upcoming AMD GPUs that we're expecting to get announced this coming Thursday, November 3rd. AMD is going to be having an event that we're going to live stream here on this channel in case you want to join us. But before we even get there, we've got details coming out about the 7900 XTX. We talked about this in a previous episode of Hot News last week, but it does appear to be getting more and more confirmation out there that this is going to be AMD's flagship GPU, coming in with 24 gigabytes of VRAM. So being confirmed by a different leaker, and some of the details that we're getting out about this is some of the memory bandwidth. So that's kind of the big thing. The 7900 XT is going to be a 20 gigabyte card, whereas the 7900 XTX is going to match the RTX 4090 at 24 gigabytes of VRAM, whereas the current generation cards only sit with 16. But one of the details we're also expecting is that the memory bandwidth is also supposed to go through the roof. On the XT, we're expecting 800 gigabytes, whereas on the XTX, we're going to get that nearly 1 terabyte per second, which is something that NVIDIA has already done with their GDDR6X memory. The big thing is that AMD is accomplishing this with GDDR6, so slower memory, but they're increasing a few things, including the memory bus, as well as having that infinity cache, which should help to actually bring up the effective bandwidth. So if we take a look, 960 and 800 gigabytes per second, if we compare that to something like the 6950 XT, that's only up to 576 gigabytes per second, and the 6900 XT is at 512. So a considerable upgrade in just the memory department this year. It does look like AMD is going to be focusing on high-end gaming, and if all the other rumors of what we're hearing of this chip are going to come true, this is going to be a high refresh rate 4K card. These things are actually going to be very, very effective at competing with NVIDIA when it comes to regular rasterization. But as we're seeing, I'm not 100% sure we could trust them on the ray tracing department, and seeing Intel's offerings when it comes to ray tracing, this actually seems like it might become a big deal. Intel's first lineup with the A770 actually hitting above its weight class when it comes to ray tracing. If 2 of the 3 GPU manufacturers are producing highly capable ray tracing cards, well, number 1, that could lead to more adoption of ray tracing in video games, but then number 2 would mean that AMD is lacking behind in a feature set from a company who just barely entered to the market, which I don't know if that's a good thing. So we obviously have to wait and see until Thursday. Get your eyeballs tuned for that frequency to see all of that. But let me know what you think of the XTX high-end AMD GPU. You thinking about it? Let me know down below in those comments, and I'm going to let you know about today's episode sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by AliExpress and their Double 11 Global Shopping Festival that you should absolutely get on your calendar starting on November 1st through the 11th. They're going to have products on sale, and you're going to be able to save up to 90% on things that you buy, including adding on our discount code that you could get for some of the products I'm going to talk in today's video about. So if you use code UFD9, you're going to save $9 on orders over $60. UFD15 will get you $15 off orders over $100, and UFD 25 will get you $25 off of orders over $165. So the 2022 AliExpress Double 11 Global Shopping Festival is going to be upon us, and I want to talk about a few products they sent over to me to talk about with the sale, including these Mauno professional studio monitor headphones. These things are at a low price, but they also have high sound quality as well as wide compatibility, and can be used in a variety of different situations. They're ergonomic, they're very comfortable to wear. They also support single side monitoring. They also include the full 6.35 millimeter jack in case you want to use it in a professional environment, as well as the 3.5 millimeter jack in case you want to use it for things like your phone or other devices. So low price, but also high quality, includes a 50 millimeter driver. Then we also have the X-Ray Disk SSD at 1 terabyte of capacity. It can provide faster startup, fast load and transfer times, more reliable and durable than a hard drive. And again, the low price on this is really fantastic, especially for the great capacity that you're getting on here. And I also really love love the color. It's like this teal setup, which is fantastic. I've never seen a drive in this color, and I'm very excited about it. And again, for AliExpress's Double 11 Global Shopping Festival, you can use our code UFD9 to save $9 off any purchase over $60. You can get both of these items for a very steep discount, but still getting high quality with it. Big thanks to AliExpress for sponsoring this video. Check out the Double 11 Global Shopping Festival at the link in the video description. And now back to more hot news. You know what else you could use those Mauno headphones for? Yeah, that's right, playing video games on your Apple device, the M1 or M2 Silicon. You can now do that because the game that they announced at WWDC, the fact that they were going to have this like Metal 3 setup where you could play actual video games on Apple Silicon, well, Resident Evil Village now available, okay? This was the game that they showed off, the one that you were supposed to know you could play. You can now get it on the Mac App Store, which this article says, unfortunately for some users, it requires a Mac with an M1 chip or later. This means that it won't work with any Intel-based Mac. Yeah, because the Steam version will. You don't need to, this is specific, yeah, that makes sense, but so in case you want to play video games on your M1, you might be able to do it now with the actual Resident Evil Village. No word on how it's performing as of yet. Hopefully we get a few details maybe out from Digital Foundry sometime soon on how that gameplay actually looks like. And what Apple's looking like with its latest quarterly earnings is strong. It's looking really strong, which puts into like stark contrast how bad some of the other companies are doing. Like Intel had their quarterly report last week and it was abysmal, like nearly no profit in the data sector section. Like it was bad. It looks like they actually do need to lay off people. They're struggling. But then you come over here to Apple and the things are totally fine. They're up 8% year on year from this time last year in just pure revenue. Their earnings per share are up 4%. Their annual revenue is up 8%. Their annual earnings per diluted share are up 9%. I mean, Apple just essentially saying that they're doing really well in some volatile macroeconomic conditions. They set up some long-term bets that are paying off for them phenomenally right now. They have the strength of the entire laptop ecosystem with their M1 stuff. They also have some new entries in the desktop sector that are looking really good. Phones aren't as strong, but it does seem like they're as good as they need them to be in order for them to continue to buoy their revenue. It's man, it's surprising to see how well Apple's doing in the bevy of all the other poor quarterly earnings that we've been getting around. But how did crypto do? Let's find, is it good or poor? I don't know. Bitcoin down a little bit to be at 2614. Ethereum down a little bit to be at 1590, and Dogecoin down just a little bit more to be at 11.55. And I'm gonna whisper on over to Reece. Hey, you got the UFD deals for us, buddy?
Well, Brett, you're looking a little bit more normal today, and welcome back to UFD Deals. Everyone, will bring you the hottest tech deals out on the internet. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I've got some good deals for you, and we'll jump in straight with Team Blue's offering because they have the Intel Core i5-12400F currently going for only $159.99, which is 22% off and the lowest price in 30 days. But on the opposite end of that, we've got AMD Ryzen 9 5900X, which is their 12-core 24-thread CPU, currently going for only $349, which is 39% off. Last but not least, we've got the Razer Viper Ultimate Hyperspeed Lightweight Wireless Gaming Mouse and RGB charging dock, currently going for only $79.99, which is 47% off. And don't forget, you can find these deals and more linked in the video description. I'll be adding more deals throughout the day, so be sure to check back and enjoy the rest of your hot news, everyone.
Thanks, Reece. You know what grinds my gears? You know what pets my peeves? Well, it's this, the Witcher Netflix series. One of the things that I was not necessarily convinced about was that casting of Henry Cavill back in the day. So I'm gonna give a little bit of grace for my reaction right now, because I know that my initial response isn't always the correct one. I've grown to love Henry Cavill more and more, especially as he's a PC gamer. And when I saw him as a Geralt, I was just like, there's literally nobody else who should be playing this character. Well, don't you worry, because the Netflix show is going to be replacing him in season 4. So they've already released 2 seasons of the Witcher Netflix show. Season 3 is supposed to come out sometime in the summer, and then now they're announcing details surrounding season 4. And specifically, Liam Hemsworth is actually going to be replacing the White Wolf, which is just, I don't understand. I don't think I've seen him in anything besides Hunger Games a decade ago. Anyways, Henry Cavill saying, my journey as Geralt of Rivia has been filled with both monsters and adventures, and alas, I will be laying down my medallions and my swords in my stead. The fantastic Mr. Liam Hemsworth will be taking up the mantle of the White Wolf. As with the greatest of literary characters, I pass the torch with reverence for the time spent embodying Geralt and enthusiasm to see Liam's take on this most fascinating and nuanced of men, which I have to say, my initial response, I think kind of the general internet's initial response was, what are you doing? This is not the right call at all. Like, just cancel the show. Like, there's no reason to move forward if Henry Cavill's not going to be a part of it. There's been some indication that Henry might actually be annoyed at the showrunners and the writers for not having proper reverence for the source material and actually not showing enough gumption in trying to make things a little bit more lore accurate. And so he was going to step away for those reasons. But it's also been announced that he's coming back as Superman. There's also some other stuff that could potentially be in the works for him. So it could be a scheduling issue, which if it's just a scheduling issue, delay the next season. Freaking just Henry Cavill we can wait for him. I will watch season 4 in 2026 if that's what it means. If we still get Henry Cavill, but if it really is the fact that the show is falling apart, Henry's jumping off of a sinking ship, and Liam's taking the helm of something that's going to inevitably float to the bottom of the Pacific, this is not the way to do it. Just like, I don't care if he plays a Witcher. I'd still watch it, but he shouldn't be Geralt. Like, Henry is Geralt. But make it a reboot at least. I don't care. Just don't continue the series and be like, oh, it's a new main character. When's the last time they did something like that? I can't remember a single show where they rebooted the main character and then it was successful. That could just be me. I don't know. Maybe voice acting, that was a possibility. But Twitter's rebooting the main character of who owns it, Elon Musk. There's details coming out that he should be laying off people as of today. Layoffs going across the board before November 1st so that he no longer has to pay them out some stock options, which would be a significant portion of the compensation that the employees are owed. So instead of having to actually pay people for sticking along this giant crap trap of figuring out what's going on with Twitter's bots and who's buying it, no, you don't get reward for that. You get kicked out right before you could potentially have earned anything for showing any sort of loyalty, because it's now Elon Musk's company. Elon Musk already axing the CEO and CFO, which according to reports might cost the company up to $120 million because they had, buyouts that had to happen so that they actually make out with bank, which, I mean, they kind of earned it. They really put his feet to the fire when it came to actually forcing him to buy out the company. Like, they played all of their cards right in that regard. So I think they've kind of earned that payday in a slight regard. On the other hand, like, the CEO was only CEO for like a few months and he's getting paid tens of millions of dollars, which, I mean, none of this makes any sense. Elon Musk spent $44 billion on a Twitter app. I don't get it. But you're going to potentially be getting more money charged for you for the Xbox. Words great today. Anyways, the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, coming out and saying, while they're not going to be increasing the price of Xbox this holiday season, so don't worry too much, they don't necessarily know if they can keep the prices on their consoles as low as they've been, especially with how economic conditions are. So you could potentially expect them to go up a little bit, maybe to like $549 on the Series X and then $300 on the Series S. Or is it already at is it $299? I thought it was at $249. What's wrong with me? It's $299 already. So like $349, which would be, that's a tough pill to swallow. I'd only go with the Series X at that point. But let me know what you think on more expensive Xboxes down below in the comments. And I'm going to let you know that I didn't talk to you about this last week because I caught wind that this was fake, because I just am not here trying to break news all the time. Well, it turns out that there was some reports last week of a mysterious 10-core Ryzen 7 7800X CPU floating about the benchmarks, showing off that maybe AMD is going to be upping their core counts to compete with people. I think there was also a 7300X thrown in there somewhere. Well, it turns out that's all fake, and that's why I never talked about it. Some outlets did, but that's because they were fooled with a new piece of technology or a new piece of software, which is called PMC Reader, which allows you to modify a few things on the backside, which makes it look like you're spoofing a processor that either does exist or doesn't exist. And in this case, the 7800X had all the markings of looking like it was legitimate, but turns out they spoofed some of the naming stuff for CPU ID, getting CPU-Z to lie about certain things, and then they also took a 7950X and then just cut it down to 10 cores and benchmarked it that way. So there was a lot of effort that went into faking this CPU posting of benchmarks, but this could potentially cause a few issues in the future when it comes to discerning what leak is real, what leak is fake, who's talking about what's going on. Just stay privy, my friends, and just because news broke doesn't mean news real, because broke sometimes has to pay for its own meal. Catch you next time for hot news.